The following is paid programming. Welcome to Something More with Chris Boyd, certified financial planner practitioner and founder of Asset Management Resources, LLC, a registered investment advisor firm. We call it Something More because we like to talk not only about those important dollar and cents issues, but also the quality of life issues that make the money matters matter. Here he is, your fulfillment facilitator, your partner in prosperity, advising clients across the country, your host, J. Christopher Boyd.
Thanks for being with us for another segment of Something More with Chris Boyd. And I'm here with Jeff Perry. We're both of Asset Management Resources. And, not long ago, we started a checklist. A week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, we started a checklist.
I lose track of time.
Yeah. About some things people can do as they get ready for retirement or in retirement. And, we got through part of it and ran out of time and said, let's come back to that sometime. And so here we are. We've got 5 more
as promised
items to review about good recommendations and thoughts to be ready for as you think about getting ready for retirement. So Jeff, where should we pick up?
I guess we'll pick up where we left off, right? So this is the 10 things on your checklist. There may be more or less for you individually, but these are the 10 things. It's a Kiplinger's article, which I'll attach to if people are listening to the podcast at the bottom after the description of the podcast.
Since you mentioned that, Jeff, I just want to point out to all our listeners, most may be listening by podcast now anyway, but if you're not, be sure to subscribe and follow us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. We are available in numerous places. Spotify and Apple and Amazon, Google, wherever you tend to get your podcasts. And we're even putting our show on YouTube as well. So subscribe to all these wherever you like to, not all of them obviously, but wherever you like to listen.
Oh, go ahead.
Make sure you get a reminder or it shows up in your feed, that there's a new episode each week. We've got usually about 4 episodes a week. We typically drop 2 episodes on Friday and 2 episodes on Monday. So join us there. All right.
And we'd appreciate a favorable review if you're so inclined. If you don't like the show, don't listen to it. But
no,
if you like it,
we would still like your feedback. Write to us directly. You can send me an email at radio@amrfinancial.com. Help us to see what people do like and what they don't like. We have a survey, I think, on our radio page that you can fill out right now. So in any case, but we would really appreciate a review and a rating. It does help people find the podcast as well. So Jeff, let's go back to talking about some ideas for people as they approach retirement.
Okay. Number 5. Some apply to everyone and some apply to people. So this next one is really important for people who are approaching age 65.
Yeah.
There's deadlines with Medicare and Medigap. You can start to apply for your Medicare at 64 and 9 months. The window opens up. You have a 7-month period, and it's really important to do that. And I think people who don't do that are those individuals who are still working and maybe on an employer healthcare plan, or self-employed and have some type of plan, or maybe they have a spouse and they're on another plan. But if you don't join Medicare in that 7-month window, when you start to take advantage of it, when your premiums will be higher if you don't initially sign up. There
are some headaches there.
There are.
And what was interesting to me, Jeff, is it rarely comes up, but occasionally I've run into someone who's not eligible for Medicare.
Meaning they haven't
been a participant into the process of paying into Medicare or Social Security and so forth. And they might, it's an oddity, but it doesn't happen often, but there are instances where someone may not be eligible for Medicare, and that's a headache to be dealt with.
I haven't seen any with my clients yet, but it certainly could happen if you haven't worked. You could fall into that.
But so in these open enrollment periods, we just finished one of them for the annual open enrollment period.
Right.
Certainly important. Everyone was bombarded by all those ads and all that kind of stuff. But
We sure were.
but
What's my zip code?
yeah,
Your zip
right.
code.
Right. But there's also, as you said, there's, automatic triggers based on age when you approach the eligibility age.
Right.
I was talking with someone else who was on Social Security disability, and there's also disability eligibility for Medicare as well. So in any case, and that we've done shows on this. So if you want to listen to a podcast in detail about Medicare, how it works, what is Medigap, and all the different, the HSA options and so forth. There's a variety of things to learn, and you may want to go back and search on our podcast for some helpful
Absolutely.
We also have done webinars for our clientele, and those are posted on our website on this topic. So it could be a useful resource for either one of those.
While this particular issue is simple, meaning you have to do this or you're going to be penalized later, other issues related to Medicare and Social Security sign up and all those are much more complicated. So it's easy to get this one right and not pay a penalty later and forever, by the way.
Yeah.
Higher premium. Yep. The next one on the list is planning for long-term care. And I'll say back to Medicare for a second.
Yeah.
Many people have the misconception that if you go into a nursing home and you don't have assets to pay for the nursing home yourself or insurance, which we can talk about, that Medicare pays for that. And that's not true. Or it's partially true. They pay for rehabilitation service.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Up to 100 days. So,
I think this is much more well understood today than it was a decade or even 20 years ago. There was a much different misconstrued expectation of what will Medicare cover. To your point, there are instances where Medicare will cover some costs at the early stages of long-term care. However, the obligations going into that are pretty significant. You need to have had a 3-night stay, which these days hard to do, right? To stay in a hospital for any length of time these days. They try to get you out so fast.
To be admitted, which is a whole different.
Admitted, that's right.
You could be in a hospital but not be admitted.
Excellent point. And then when you are in this rehabilitation or in a setting that might be someone might consider a nursing home or something like that, but this rehabilitation situation, you have to have progress, and if you stop progressing in your recovery, that could be an instance where Medicare would not continue to pay. The first 20 days of coverage are different from the remaining 80 days of coverage,
right?
Which again, you may not get the entire 100 days in that instance. So there's a whole slew of things. Don't plan on Medicare being your coverage for long-term care, because again, Medicare is really hospitalization, doctor's visits. It's intended for a different purpose. It's for acute medical coverage. It's not intended for prolonged long-term care needs. Long-term care is really about an inability to perform some activities of daily living. These ADLs, activities of daily living, is typically what it's talked about. And those might be things like bathing, dressing. Think about the things you do when you get out of bed. You get out of bed,
right?
Mobility, ambulatory, whatever you want to refer to that.
Yep.
Yeah. 2, you go to the bathroom, right? Toileting is one. You oftentimes will shower. Bathing is another. Right. Maybe you get dressed and you go downstairs or whatever, and you have breakfast. So
there you go.
Feeding yourself, like all of these kind of things are typically the things that are the activities of daily living. And if you're unable to perform, typically 2 of these is when an insurance policy would be triggered, if there is an insurance policy. But it could be that insurance isn't part of the equation. but these are the kinds of issues that you might deal with when having needs for long-term care. There's also cognitive impairment considerations that people start having concerns that, if you're left alone, you might be a danger to yourself or to others.
Sure.
That is a common, trigger for people to think about having a long-term care need, whether that's just the care itself and the costs for this. These are things you need to plan for. And, Jeff, I think most people, if they feel as though if they do the projections, they do the planning, and there's sufficient resources to be able to absorb those costs, they might be less inclined to get insurance as a tool to mitigate the risk. But insurance could still be a tool they might want to entertain in order to mitigate the risk. But that being said, if they have the funds, they might be less inclined to insure for it. Whereas it's really those people who are in the middle that it's so difficult to figure out the best plan for. If you don't have enough, you may have limited assets, and a long-term care would just impoverish you. Let's face it, long-term care insurance isn't going to be really affordable and probably not a good option for that person. And they might be best served by planning, to actually use Medicaid, the state, welfare system to kind of plan for how to cover these costs. Someone who has sort of in the middle, though, it's really challenging. It may not be ideal to fully insure because the cost might actually be damaging to your projections. You might not have enough. On the other hand, you might want something to help mitigate the risk and limit the impact of that, or at least buy you time for the idea of how to manipulate assets, or where to hold them, or whatever it might be. So care can be received in so many different ways, right?
Good point.
What would be covered for certain kinds of issues is, nursing home, that's going to be paid for by Medicaid. But assisted living or home health services, these typically are not covered by Medicaid. So,
but covered by insurance usually.
In terms of like health insurance,
no,
but they
long-term care insurance.
They would be covered by long-term care insurance. Sorry, I misunderstood your point.
Yep.
So it could be, your preferred way of receiving care is to be at home. Let's face it, most people, and have help in that process. So in any case, certainly an important thing to think about and do some planning around. It's just not easy.
This is one of those issues that is so dynamic, meaning it has so many different components to options available and impact on your financial plan, that it's really prudent to get some advice on this issue. I mean, if you're working with a fiduciary, a financial advisor, this is one of the ones that they're talking to you about. They should be.
Right.
But if you are doing your own investing, or maybe you don't have an advisor, this particular issue is worth talking to someone. And I'm not talking about someone who's going to sell you. They may sell you a product, but not someone who only sells long-term care insurance. They're going to give you the answer that you need long-term care insurance. It's not a slight.
Right.
If you go to a Toyota dealer and ask, say
what's the best car for me?
Yeah. They're going to sell you a Toyota. So I would suggest
that's a good analogy. Yeah.
Modeling this out in the context of your financial plan with a financial advisor who has your best interest at heart. And there's so many options. We've done entire segments on this topic. We're just touching the surface here. It's a much deeper and very independent on your individual circumstances and your assets, your debts, your legacy desires. All of this is
to your point. If people who might be looking to listen to a podcast on this, we have done several actually, but we've had some great guests to talk about the complexities, different kinds of solutions for how to help mitigate these risks. Both when it comes to estate planning and when it comes to long-term care insurance structures and different types of products. So check those out on previous podcast episodes. Let's move on to the next topic on this
number 7
checklist that we're doing.
Number 7 on the list of 10 is simplify your financial life.
I'm totally on board with this too. This is like a routine thing that we talk about. How can you simplify things? People tend to have bank accounts in 3 different banks. and really, maybe there's an opportunity to simplify. Maybe you have retirement accounts spread from past employers around here, there, and everywhere. Maybe that's an opportunity to simplify. Maybe you have multiple accounts that could either be, instead of having several individual accounts between a couple, maybe you want to have a joint account or a trust account, or
Right.
maybe there's reasons you have different accounts, and that can be
Sure.
still honored, but
That's fine.
maybe it'd be better to have it under one, brokerage setting where you'd have the opportunity to keep control of it a little better, be able to assess it a little easier. There's a variety of ways you can bring simplification into your financial life. Those are just a couple of ideas off the top of my head. Is there something that we didn't cover, do you think,
No,
Jeff?
I'll just add one personal experience from someone that I helped out. Husband passed away, and I'm sure that he had a specific reason for all these different accounts. I mean, this gentleman, married couple, the husband took care of the finances, literally had over 30 different accounts. If you add it, I'm talking about bank accounts, brokerage accounts, mutual, and I'm sure, and his wife said he had a reason for all that, and she didn't know what they were.
And it's a great point, but you got to think about who's coming in behind you.
Right.
That may be manageable for you now, but as you age, it might get more.
Well, it actually
cumbersome.
wasn't manageable for him. He made.
I
don't want to speak ill. He lost control of what he had working probably his whole life very successfully, but he lost his handle on it.
I think that's the thing you got to think about. Like, as I age, is this going to be easily, maintained? Am I going to be able to keep up with this? Number one. Number two, is the person coming in behind me, whether it's wife or kids or husband, whatever, that kind of scenario where someone's coming in behind you, are they going to have it's overwhelming for people, particularly in most families. One spouse does have an interest and one spouse typically does not. Or if it's the kids and they have to deal with probate and all this kind of stuff, it can be cumbersome. Streamline where possible. Another example, Jeff, that I didn't think of is people who have individual securities, individual stocks. Own them in a brokerage account.
Right.
If you have them at, ComputerShare or whatever it might be, BNY Mellon or whatever, all these are, it's great for the drip programs and all that kind of stuff, but it's really cumbersome for someone if you're not the person doing it. They need all these signature guarantees. It's a very tedious process.
It is, and sometimes they're lost. I mean,
or it might not be known about. Right. Great point. So anyway, this is one of those that it seems kind of easy and it seems obvious, but it can be tedious and overwhelming. But it's a lot easier to do while you have your faculties and your health and you're alive. For someone to deal with it after you, it's a much more cumbersome process. So simplify where you can.
And if you're on if you're starting to lose control, you feel you need some help, your advisor should be more than willing to help you figure this out.
To your point, this is something we make so much easier for people when they come in. We help do all the legwork, and they just have to sign some forms.
That's right.
It can, if as much as possible anyway, we can make it easy.
And sometimes I know we're belaboring it, but sometimes the family member will actually bring in a child or other family member to start to show them, all right, here's my plan, here's my stuff, which is very helpful as well.
That's a great topic, Jeff. We should really think about just as a segment sometime. How much do you tell family? When do you tell them? Why do you tell them? When not to? Why not to? The whole idea of family meetings or that notion, it's a really challenging one, I think, sometimes, and but one that it's worth talking about. Some of the things to consider as to how to communicate some of these issues.
It's on the list.
Excellent.
It's on our list. For the listeners who don't know, we have a list.
We have a long list of ideas and topics.
And feel free to write in and ask us questions or topics like you'd like to have on our list. Some of our best shows have been on listener questions.
We love the mailbag, so to speak. So just general topic, specific topic, anything that's on your mind, we'd love to hear from you. You can do that either through our radio show website, somethingmorewithchrisboyd.com, or you can just send us an email, radio@amrfinancial.com.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
that'd be a good way to do it. All right. So
Number 8,
number 8.
plan to retire to something, not from something.
Oh, that's really good.
And
Yeah,
I completely agree. When I decided to retire from the public sector that I was working in, my wife Lisa was retiring as a paralegal, and we were very intentional, not only about our financial planning, and your help was included in that, but also like, where do we want to live? What do we want to do? Even, bucket list stuff, but even like the day to day, where do we want to work? If we work, what do we want to do? Both of us wanted to do something where we felt like we were helping some people, not just, cog in the wheel, right? That we actually were helping people. And then temperature, travel, pets, social circles, activities. Make it a fun process as you're getting closer to retirement. Talk about, if you're alone, talk to friends and neighbors. If you're with a spouse or significant others, talk to them and dream about it. Make a plan and make sure if you're with somebody that you're actually on the same plan. We joke about the topic of travel, where one party says, "Oh, I can't wait to retire to travel around the world," and the other spouse in this case says, "Oh, I just wanted to like stay home and garden," right? So make sure your dreams are aligned, but make it a fun process and retire to something you want, not just to not working.
Yeah, it's really important. I think this has become more evident as we've worked with retirees over the years, that it's one thing to say, you're excited about the opportunity to just be done with this stressful work, that you might deal with. And that a lot of times people are just eager to move away from something that they find to be, burdensome.
Right.
And that's fair, right? That, you want that. But you also want your life to be productive and constructive, and you're doing something. So, for some people, there's just reward in, hey, my golf game is getting better, right?
Yeah, leisure activities.
That they enjoy those, that brings them enjoyment, fulfillment, social interaction, and all that. For other people, they want to volunteer and participate in something. Oftentimes people say, I think I'm just going to get a little job,
Very
and
common.
it's as much about, a little bit of extra income as it's really as much about social interaction and having a routine and some of these important things that can be useful.
That's a great segue, Chris. Number 9 is develop a routine.
There you go.
So that's important. You can't just, plan travel, for example. Say you're going to go on 4 trips a year, 6 trips a year. I mean, that's 12 weeks of the year. There's still a lot of it
some
left,
of the time,
right?
but it's not all of the time. Yeah. So what's your routine going to be? Yeah.
And that may be improving your health with activity and, better diet and meditation or religion or things that are individual to you.
I can think of a retiree that comes to my mind when you talk about this. Daily communicant at church,
right?
Goes to church every morning, meets up with friends at Dunkin' Donuts afterwards, or whatever.
Sure.
And so there's social, communal kind of thing. There's a spiritual dimension to that. And then, take that walk in the afternoon with other friends or whatever it might be.
Right.
So, whatever those routines are for you, sometimes those just evolve, right, Jeff?
That's right. They do. Don't be rigid with them.
Right. But I think it's really helpful to be intentional about, I've got a clean slate here. What do I want to be?
Perfectly said. Time? Like you get to paint this. Your boss doesn't have any influence over you unless you choose to work. But
right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's be intentional about it. I overuse the word, but I intentionally overuse the word because it's important. It
really is.
If you don't create that routine, it will be created for you. And it may be meaning I watch Fox News or MSNBC, whatever your
your
preference
preferred,
is, 16 hours a day, and that's certainly not healthy, right?
It really is not. And it's just the kind of thing that we get into. There's a certain ease of that, just to kind of let stuff wash over you.
Right. And it will.
But it's a sedentary thing as well, and that's not necessarily the most healthy.
Right.
I think it also, when you think about just media, like it doesn't matter which media you're talking about, it's designed to get you agitated. You know what I mean? So is that really the best, thing for you in your retirement?
I can assure you that it's not.
Yeah. So,
and my favorite, we're running a little.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
But my favorite one is number 10.
It's definitely for you to talk about, Jeff.
It is. This is yours. Spend your money, because so many times we have clients, and maybe you're not a financial advisor if you're listening, perhaps, but you have friends, and you know that they have assets, you know that they have income, and they are just still living like they're in the accumulation phase of their life, and they don't do the things that they want. They don't buy the vehicle that they want. They don't do the vacation. They don't do the generosity. They just still struggle with that feeling of they don't have enough, or maybe they don't deserve to spend it. Do your projections, do your plan, and if your plan says you can do it, do it. You only go around this God's green earth once, and live the life that you've earned. You've probably worked a long time, saved a lot, been frugal with your money. If you have it, enjoy it and spend your money.
Yeah, and Jeff, you're one who's really good to talk about this, that sometimes the real benefit of a financial plan is to give you permission, to know that you can spend the money the way you'd like, and that's okay. And this is the time of life to do it, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So, have the plan, make sure you've, given thought to the variables.
Sure.
And if you need help, reach out, but that's okay. So in any case, say again?
It does help having an advisor who's run your numbers and say, you're okay. Go on that trip to Europe for 2 weeks. Do it.
And we've considered the viability of, what happens if, kind of thing. Yep. And, the probabilities of your plan working. Reach out if we can be of help in that process at amrfinancial.com. I want to just say thanks to the author of that, Jonathan Schenkman. That was a good article, some great ideas. We're going to take a break, or until next time, keep striving for something more.
Thank you for listening to Something More with Chris Boyd. Call us for help, whether it's financial planning, portfolio management, insurance concerns, or those quality of life issues that make the money matters matter. Whatever's on your mind, visit us at amrfinancial.com or call us toll free at 866-771-8901 or send us your questions to radio@amrfinancial.com.